symbols we find our way, a pulse in the void where the patterns play. Through the chaos the secrets are revealed, magic's a force that can be concealed. Sigils and symbols, we conquer the unknown. In the webs of the universe, we make it our own. Whoa.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're exploring chaos magic, and our guide is Jack D. Hawkins, the Chaonomicon.
Ooh, that's a good one.
And this book, well, doesn't waste any time.
No, it really doesn't.
It just jumps right in, saying chaos magic throws out the rule book. Like, there's no strict dogma. You don't have to work with specific deities.
Yep.
It's all about, getting results, whatever works.
Like magic as an experiment.
Exactly. You're constantly testing, tweaking, figuring out what actually produces the desired outcome.
And if it works, then it's valid. Tradition, belief, doesn't matter as much in the system.
That's so interesting. It almost sounds like the scientific method, but for magic.
Yeah, definitely. And you know what? Chaos magic actually has some roots in real science. It emerged around the same time chaos science was gaining traction back in the 70s and 80s.
Oh, wow.
There are some shared principles there.
That's fascinating. But before we get too deep into the science, maybe we should define what we're actually talking about. Like, what is chaos magic?
Good point. I think Hawkins says it really well in the Chaonomicon.
Oh, how does he put it?
It's a way of studying magic that throws out, like, prepackaged philosophies and superstitions. It's about really understanding those natural laws that make magic work,
I like that. So it's not about blindly following rules or dogma. It's more about understanding and working with those underlying forces.
Yeah, exactly. It's about taking control of your own practice, really.
Empowerment. I like that.
And exploring magic on your own terms.
It's almost like a choose your own adventure, but in the realm of magic.
That's a great way to put it.
But it's not just about, wishing for things to happen.
Right. It's not just daydreaming.
There are real consequences, real effort involved.
Definitely. It still takes dedication and, you got to study and experiment.
Yeah.
And speaking of things that might surprise you, let's talk about the pantheon of chaos magic.
Oh, because there isn't really a set pantheon, is there?
You got it. Chaos magic doesn't limit you to any specific deities. It sees those figures, those god forms, as more like symbolic representations.
Okay, so it's more about their energies or the concepts they embody.
Exactly. So you could theoretically work with Doc Cthulhu, for example.
Wait, like H.P. Lovecraft's Cthulhu?
The one and only.
That's wild.
Yeah, I know it sounds strange.
It does.
But that's kind of the point of chaos magic. It's super flexible.
It really pushes the boundaries.
Yeah.
What are some other examples?
Well, another interesting one is the pairing of Baphomet and Lilith.
Okay. Now, those figures come from totally different traditions, right? Different time periods even.
Right. But in chaos magic, they're often seen together in rituals.
So practitioners are free to kind of mix and match, like pulling from different cultures, mythologies, even fiction.
Pretty much. It's all about finding the symbols and archetypes that, that resonate with you and using those to access the energies you want to work with.
I see. So it's very personalized.
Very much so. It makes me think about, like, the trickster archetype.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, tricksters, they show up all over the world in so many different cultures.
Yeah.
Like Ishu, Loki, Hanuman.
Yeah. They're always shaking things up, causing chaos.
Exactly. Disrupting the status quo and bringing about change in totally unpredictable ways.
That's a great connection. It seems like embracing change and challenging those assumptions is kind of at the core of chaos magic.
It really is.
But how does this actually all work in practice? Like, is there a method to this madness?
That's where chaos science comes in.
Oh, right. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, it might seem like magic and science are total opposites.
Yeah.
But chaos magic borrows some key ideas from chaos theory.
Like the butterfly effect.
Exactly.
I've always been fascinated by that concept. Like, this tiny little butterfly flapping its wings could eventually cause a tornado halfway across the world.
It's pretty mind-blowing, and that's a perfect example of something called sensitive dependence on initial conditions.
Oh, wow. That's a mouthful.
It is. But all it means is that even small changes can have a big impact, like in a ritual.
I see. So even a tiny change to your intention or environment could drastically change the outcome.
Yep.
So it's not just about randomness. It's about understanding that everything's connected.
Right, and that even seemingly small, insignificant things can make a huge difference.
I like that.
And that brings us to another concept that's important in chaos magic. Fractals.
Okay, what are those again?
So think about, like, the branches of a tree, or the veins in a leaf,
Okay.
or like the shape of a coastline.
Right, I'm picturing it.
They have these patterns that repeat at different scales.
Yeah, so you see the same basic shape again and again, just bigger or smaller. It creates this beautiful complexity.
Exactly. That's what a fractal is. And what chaos magic suggests is that these same kinds of chaotic patterns exist at every level of reality, from the tiniest subatomic particles to the entire cosmos.
Wow, that's incredible to think about.
It is. And by understanding these patterns, chaos magicians believe we can tap into them, work with them, and even influence them to create change.
Okay, now we're really getting into some mind-bending territory.
Right.
But let's get back to something a little more practical. What are some techniques chaos magicians actually use?
Well, one of the most well-known is sigils.
Right. We touched on those before, those personalized symbols that are supposed to help you manifest a specific desire.
Yes. They're almost like a magical logo for your intention.
I like that.
And the process of creating a sigil is all about communicating with your subconscious mind. You make a visual representation of your desire, charge it up with your focused intention, and then, this part's important, you let it go.
The letting go part always seems tricky.
It is, but it's all about releasing that attachment to the outcome.
Like you plant the seed and then trust that it'll grow.
Exactly.
You've got to have faith in the process.
That's a big part of it. And another technique we talked about was progression spells.
Right. I thought those sounded interesting because they allow you to keep adapting and refining your magic as you go.
Yeah. It's not just a one-time ritual, it's a process.
So how would that work in a real-life situation?
Okay, imagine you're working on a long-term goal, something big, like starting your own business.
Okay.
You could use a progression spell to help you stay focused, attract the right people, and overcome obstacles as they pop up.
So you might do a ritual once a week, say, and kind of tweak the spell each time based on what's happening?
Exactly. You're always assessing and adjusting, working with the chaotic nature of things rather than trying to control it.
That's a really cool approach.
Yeah.
It seems like chaos magic is as much about developing a certain mindset as it is about performing rituals.
Absolutely. It's about learning to dance with the chaos rather than trying to fight against it.
Because chaos isn't just bad, right? It's also about potential and creativity.
Exactly. It's full of possibilities.
Hi everyone! Next week we will have 3 podcasts about very interesting books on chaos magic because, although they are not specific lines, they are very useful to those who are willing to use them, both in concrete jungles and in nature. This is here at...
Chaos Magic Time.
Welcome back. Ready for more chaos?
I think so. I'm definitely intrigued.
Good, because we're about to get into how chaos magic can actually be used in, real life.
Okay, that's what I'm really curious about. Like, we've talked about some pretty wild concepts, but how do those actually translate into, navigating our everyday lives?
Well, it starts with self-realization. But in chaos magic, self-realization isn't just about, knowing your strengths and weaknesses.
Oh,
it goes a step further. It's about confronting your shadow self.
Whoa. Okay. That sounds intense. So like those parts of ourselves that we tend to, hide or deny.
Exactly. Those aspects we might not be so proud of. But chaos magic says, nope, bring them into the light too.
That's pretty different from a lot of other spiritual paths.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that often focus on positive thinking and like striving for goodness.
You're right. It's a different approach. It's not about erasing those so-called negative parts of ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's about understanding them, accepting them.
So chaos magic's saying that even those shadow parts have power.
They do. It's about recognizing that even our imperfections, they're a part of what makes us whole.
That's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
It is. It's challenging, for sure. And speaking of shifting perspectives, chaos magic also encourages something called nonlinear thinking.
Nonlinear thinking. Okay, I think I need a definition for that. Does it mean I should, throw logic out the window?
No, not quite. It's more about recognizing that the world, well, it's messy.
Okay.
Things don't always happen in a predictable cause and effect kind of way.
Right, like that butterfly effect we talked about.
Exactly. Seemingly random stuff can have a huge impact. So nonlinear thinking helps us be more adaptable, flexible.
I see. So instead of getting stuck in one way of doing things, it's about being open to possibilities, unexpected solutions.
You got it. And then there's this concept of free belief.
Free belief. Okay, now that one really threw me for a loop when I first read about it.
I know, right?
It almost sounds like you can just believe in, well, anything, whether it's true or not.
I had the same thought. Like, doesn't that open the door to delusion?
Yeah, exactly. Or like
Huh.
manipulating reality just to get what you want. That seems kind of dangerous.
But chaos magic isn't about blind faith or, trying to trick people. It's about consciously choosing what you believe in. And it's about choosing beliefs that empower you.
So it's about questioning those assumptions, those deep-seated beliefs we all carry around that might actually be holding us back.
Yes, sometimes we cling to these beliefs that no longer serve us. Free belief is about recognizing that and making a choice.
A choice to believe in what's possible, even if it seems, far-fetched.
Exactly. But it takes practice. It's about shifting your focus. Instead of dwelling on what you don't want, you focus on what you do want.
Okay, so like visualizing your goal and acting as if it's already happening.
You got it.
It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. By acting as if something's true, you're, aligning your energy with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's not just wishful thinking. You're actually aligning your thoughts, your actions, and your beliefs to make that outcome more likely.
Okay, now I'm starting to see how these ideas, like embracing chaos and nonlinear thinking, can be really powerful. Not just magically, but in our regular lives too.
It's a shift in perspective for sure. It helps you see things in a whole new light.
It does. I'm really
Right.
starting to see that. But there's one more term I keep coming across that I want to ask you about. It sounds a little ominous, to be honest.
Uh-oh. What is it?
The left-hand path.
Mhm.
What exactly does that mean in the context of chaos magic?
Yeah, that term gets thrown around a lot, and it's often misunderstood.
Yeah, it does sound kind of, dark.
The left-hand path is associated with exploring those darker shadow aspects of ourselves. It's about challenging conventional ideas about morality, about good and evil.
So it's not necessarily about, being evil.
No, it's more about forging your own ethical framework.
Okay.
It's about taking responsibility for your choices and understanding the consequences of your actions.
That makes sense.
People who walk the left-hand path, they don't shy away from the darker side of things.
But it sounds like it's about integration, not just dwelling in the darkness.
You got it. It's about incorporating those darker aspects, the shadow self, into a whole understanding of ourselves and the universe.
So it's about embracing the full spectrum of reality, light and shadow.
Exactly. It's about facing those uncomfortable truths about ourselves and the world.
It sounds like a path that requires a lot of, courage and self-awareness.
It does. But it can also be incredibly liberating. It gives you a sense of personal power.
Yeah, I can see that.
Ultimately, it's about breaking free from those limiting beliefs and creating a life that aligns with your true will.
Okay, so we talked about the philosophy, the shadow self, even the left-hand path.
We've been through a lot.
We have. But now, how does all of this translate into actual tangible results, in the real world?
We are and live here to enjoy life. Avoiding this means avoiding being ourselves. One of the ways people like to live is by learning more. And that's why I make these podcasts about books and about chaos magic. Here in Brazil, we are all educated to be cheap. That herd education to be socially accepted. So I thought that the popular objection to chaos magic would be very intense. I was wrong. Here people are eager to learn and practice things that work for us Brazilians. It's not different outside of Brazil, but since English is not our native language, communication is a bit rigid. Anyway, I now make podcasts in English because just as many other people also liked them. I believe it is important to use these podcasts as a basis for at least Chaos Magic group to start discussions about them. However, I must point out that groups that are not practitioners of Chaos Magic will be very surprised when they practice these works that I recommended. And also I will recommend. Let's keep our hunger for learning strong here in Brazil or anywhere on the world. Hugs.
All right, so we're back. We've been exploring some pretty mind-blowing stuff about chaos magic.
Yeah, we have.
From embracing our shadow selves to that whole idea of free belief. But now I want to see the rubber meet the road. Like, how do we actually put all this into practice and see some results?
That's the big question, right? And that's what chaos magic's all about. It's not just a philosophy, it's a set of tools you can use.
Okay, tools. Let's talk about that. We've mentioned sigils a couple times now.
Yeah.
Those personalized symbols, they're supposed to help manifest desires. How exactly do they work? Is it as simple as just drawing one up and hoping for the best?
Well, there's a bit more to it than that. Think of it like this. A sigil is a way to communicate with your subconscious mind.
Yeah.
You're basically creating a visual representation of your desire, charging it up with your intention, and then this part's key releasing it.
Letting go. That seems like the tricky part. You have to, forget about it completely.
In a way, yes. It's about surrendering that attachment to the outcome. Like, you've planted the seed, so to speak. Now you got to trust that it'll grow.
Intention and surrender. That's a theme we keep coming back to. It's a delicate balance, for sure.
It is.
And, speaking of practice, we talked about those progression spells earlier.
Yeah.
I thought those are really interesting because they allow for adjustments as you go. You're not just locked into a single ritual.
Right. It's like you set your magical goal, but then you're ready to make course corrections along the way, like a feedback loop.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
How would that work in a real-life scenario?
Okay, imagine you're working on a big long-term project, like maybe you're trying to start a business.
Okay.
You could craft a progression spell to help you stay focused, to attract the right resources, and to overcome those inevitable obstacles.
So maybe you do a ritual every week, and each time you kind of tweak the spell based on what's going on.
That's the idea. You're always assessing, adapting, working with that chaotic energy rather than trying to force it into a box.
I really like that approach.
Yeah.
It seems like chaos magic is just as much about developing the right mindset as it is about, the actual rituals.
Totally. It's about learning to dance with the chaos, Not resisting it, but flowing with it.
Because chaos isn't always a bad thing. It can also be a source of creativity, opportunity.
Exactly. It's all about potential.
So thinking about that, how can we use this chaotic mindset to deal with those curveballs life throws our way? Because sometimes things just happen and we can't plan for everything.
That's where nonlinear thinking comes in. That idea we were talking about before,
Right.
Being flexible, adaptable, able to see things from different angles. Instead of reacting in your usual way, you can pause, take a step back, and see the situation with fresh eyes.
So it's about finding creative solutions, adapting to those changing circumstances, instead of getting stuck in old patterns.
Exactly. It's about trusting your intuition, being open to new possibilities, even embracing the unknown.
This has been such an incredible deep dive. I feel like we've gone, really deep into the Chaonomicon. Yeah. And honestly, I have a whole new perspective, not just on magic, but on how to approach life in general. Like seeing the world as this dynamic, constantly changing system and realizing that we have more power to shape our reality than we might think.
You got it. Chaos magic really is about empowerment and transformation. It's not about, finding easy answers or taking shortcuts. It's about embracing the whole journey with all the twists and turns along the way.
I love that.
Yeah.
Embrace the journey. And, one last thing Hawkins says that I think is so important. Never lose your sense of humor.
Yeah.
Even when things get chaotic, don't forget to laugh.
So true.
Well, thanks for joining us on this wild ride through chaos magic. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
In the chaos, let it take control. Feel the strange attractors stir deep in your soul. Reality's a river, we'll shape it with our hands. Chaos magic's calling, take a stand. The butterfly flutters, it echoes far. Small changes in the path like a distant star. Entities whisper, they guide our mind. Through the labyrinth of time, we find the light. Non-linear visions, the truth in disguise. Awaken your power, open your eyes. Whoa, whoa. Come and join the chaos, let it take control. Feel the strange attractors stir deep in your soul. Reality's a